Kevin Harvick confirms that he will retire at the end of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. Kyle Larson will run the 2024 Indianapolis 500, and many other moves have been made in the Xfinity Series as well. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. We got a ton of NASCAR and other motorsports stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into those really quickly. Let's begin, though, by talking about some paint schemes that have been revealed over the last couple days. The first paint scheme we're going to take a look at is Chase Elliott's 2023 Napa scheme. This is definitely an upgrade from last year's scheme, in my opinion. I love it. There's more blue on it, and it looks way better, in my opinion. I just wish, though, that they would go back to the old school schemes that Chase had in 2016 and 2017 when he drove the number 24 car. But I will say this is definitely a big upgrade for sure, and I'm looking forward to see on the racetrack here this season. The next paint scheme we're taking a look at is William Byron's 2022 Raptor scheme that we're going to see in many races in 2023. This looks really good, in my opinion, compared to last year's scheme as well. Lefty designed this one, and Lefty has made some really awesome looking schemes. I think this one looks really good, looks really amazing, and the colors work better on this one. I think there could be some things that are definitely better for sure on this, but I think it looks good, in my opinion. And the final paint scheme we're taking a look at is Jimmy Johnson's 2023 Carvana scheme that we're going to see in the 2023 Daytona 500. Absolutely bomb of a scheme. Really great, in my opinion. It looks incredible. Colors look fantastic. Everything works perfectly. It's a ballin' scheme. Looks fantastic. Looks exciting. And I'm definitely excited to see that it's going to be out on the racetrack in the 2023 Daytona 500, as Jimmy still, though, has to qualify for that event. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about freight auctions. As it was announced on Wednesday that Freight Auctions will continue to sponsor Michael McDowell and Zane Smith in 2023. Zane Smith will have 2 or 3 races, I think, sponsored by Freight Auctions, and Michael McDowell will have 5 races sponsored by Freight Auctions, including in the Busch Light Clash. Great to see that Freight Auctions will continue to sponsor Front Row Motorsports. They've been loyal to that team, I think, for the last couple of years, so good to see them continuing to sponsor them in 2023. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Experian Inc. As it was announced on Wednesday that Experian Inc. will sponsor RFK Racing in 2023. Next, Lizette will sponsor Brad Keselowski for 3 races in 2023, and Next Latal will sponsor Chris Buescher for 3 races in 2023. Good to see a new company coming into the sport. We all kind of thought it was going to be Dunkin' Donuts was going to sponsor the team, but it's great to see that there is a new company coming in to sponsor. Exciting news for sure, and happy to see that there's a new sponsor coming into NASCAR. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Horizon Hobby. As it was announced yesterday that Horizon Hobby will sponsor Front Row Motorsports once again in 2023. They will sponsor Michael McDowell for 2 races in the 2023 season, and ARMA is also going to sponsor Zane Smith once again at Worldwide Technology Raceway, also known as my hometown track. Really great to see that Horizon will continue. Horizon, a massive RC company. My family associates with that company because we basically do RC at our store. So it's great to see that they are going to have that basically be the sponsors. Really exciting for sure. I'm glad to see that they will be going ahead and sponsoring them once again in the 2023 season. Really excited to see for sure, and great to see. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about some Cup spotters. As Bob Pockers put out a tweet, I believe yesterday or Wednesday, about some upcoming Cup spotter changes. First, Justin Haley is going to have Jason Jarrett, who was the spotter last year, I believe, for Kurt Busch. He will be the spotter for Justin Haley in 2023. And a familiar face is coming back to be a spotter in 2023. Noah Gragson is going to have Earl Barbin. Earl Barbin has been a spotter for Jimmy Johnson for basically most of Jimmy Johnson's career. So it's fantastic to see that both Earl Barbin and Jason Jarrett are coming back to be spotters in 2023. And I think it's just absolutely incredible to see that Earl Barbin is making a return. I think it's awesome. I think it's fantastic. And glad to see that Earl Barbin and Jason Jarrett have found jobs for 2023. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about USC and UCLA. As Dustin Albino put out a tweet yesterday that USC and UCLA are going to compete in a time trial competition at the Busch Light Clash. This will take place, I believe, on the Sunday. This will take place right before everything happens, whether that's heat races or the main event. This will be taking place, I think, on that weekend on Saturday or that Sunday. This is really cool to see. You're going to have both colleges basically involved, both California colleges that will be involved in doing this. I think this is absolutely incredible that this is going to happen. I definitely might check that out for sure. And I think it's really exciting to see. So great to see for sure, and excited to see that this is going to be happening. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Mike Conway. As it was announced on Wednesday that Mike Conway is going to drive the 14 for Lexus in GT3 in the 2023 Rolex 24. I believe he'll be teammates with Ben Barnicut, and I can't remember the other driver he's going to be teammates with. Mike Conway is a veteran of IndyCar and also a veteran of IMSA. I think he's won some IMSA championships. So he has a lot of experience, and he's going to be competing in a lower tier series, not as much as the GTP class. He'll be competing in the GT3 class. So he's going to have a shot to get the win in that. He probably won't win the overall event, but I'm glad to see that Mike Conway's getting the opportunity to race for Lexus. This is a great decision, and I'm excited to see that he will get this opportunity, because this is definitely a great opportunity. Happy he will get to race in GT3. Really awesome to see. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about David Ingram. As it was announced yesterday that David Ingram will be the crew chief for the number 78 Live Fast Motorsports car in 2023. David Ingram has been part of the Beasley Cloud Motorsports organization for the last couple of seasons. I believe as a crew chief for the number 5 car in the Xfinity Series last year, and now gets the promotion up to the Cup Series. Of course, it's already been confirmed that Josh Walicki will make select starts in the Cup Series for them in 2023. And it's also expected that we're going to see BJ McLeod make some starts in that 78 car as well. Great decision in my opinion, and happy to see that David Ingram will be the crew chief for them in 2023. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about James Vallis. As it was announced early this morning that James Vallis is going to become the team principal at Williams in 2023. Williams, of course, has association Mercedes, and James Vallis has been part of the Mercedes group for many, many years. This is really, really exciting to see that he's getting this opportunity to be team principal, because Jose Capito, I think, announced retirement from working at Williams. So really awesome decision, in my opinion, and I'm happy that James Vallis is going to get that opportunity to do that in the 2023 season. Good to see he will get an opportunity to be the team principal. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Legacy Motor Club. As Bob Pockets put out a tweet on Wednesday afternoon that Legacy Motor Club is going to continue using ECR engines in 2023. A lot of people thought there were going to be some engine changes because of the fact that with Jimmy Johnson coming on, a lot of people thought they were going to have Hendrick engines in 2023. Now remember, ECR and Hendrick engines are kind of in a similar position. They're part of a major engine brand change that happened, but ECR engines are still going to be used by that team going into 2023. So glad to see ECR engines will continue to have Petty GMS with them. Well, actually Legacy Motor Club now. I think it's good to see that, and glad to see that they will continue using those engines in 2023. Definitely good to see for sure, in my honest opinion. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Hailie Deegan. Now, we've talked about Hailie Deegan quite a bit on this channel. The Truck Series page on Twitter put out basically a tweet saying that Hailie Deegan is looking to build on 2022 and 2023. Hailie Deegan, of course, will be driving full-time for ThorSport Racing in 2023 in the number 13 truck. Sponsorship and other things have not been announced at this time except for crew chief, which is going to be Rich Lucius in 2023. Hailie's going to be expected to have a lot of pressure this year because Hailie Deegan is going to be expected to perform a lot better. This is a better truck, and I think that she is going to be also expected to win a race this upcoming season. I'm looking forward to what she can do this season and hope that she can do really, really good and be a contender, because I think it'd be really great for the sport if she can do really good with the team. I think she does have a good chance to get it done, and we'll see what Hailie Deegan can do with the team in 2023. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Agustin Canapino. As it was announced yesterday that Agustin Canapino will be driving for Juncos Hollinger Racing full-time in 2023, driving the number 78 car. This means that Juncos will expand to a 2-car team, because Callum Islet will return to the number 77 car in 2023. Agustin Canapino has been competing in South America for many, many years and has won many championships in South America. I don't know how much open wheel experience he has, though, so that's going to be something to watch, is if he can adapt to the open wheel experience, because if he can, I think he will be a pretty solid contender for some good runs. Juncos is a team that's looking to build up and trying to have a better season, and hoping he will be able to accomplish that and help the team improve on their craft. But I'm happy to see that he's getting an opportunity to race full-time with Juncos Hollinger. We'll see what he does in 2023, and like I said, I hope he can do a great job with the team in 2023. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about David Starr. As a good buddy of mine, Casey Campbell, put out a tweet. Basically, he had an interview with Bobby Dotter, who's the owner of SS Greenlight Racing. And Bobby Dotter says that David Starr will not be returning to SS Greenlight Racing in 2023. This is kind of a little bit of a surprise. I thought David Starr was going to return to the team, considering David Starr does have some sponsorship and funding. But SS Greenlight Racing already has announced that Blaine Perkins will drive the 07 car. And Bobby does note in that interview that they will be announcing who is going to be driving in a 08 car at a later date. David Starr has been in the series for many, many years. I think the first time he competed in some sort of NASCAR's top-tier division, so I think back in 2000. So he's been around now for over 20 years. And David Starr is a much older driver. He's, I think, in his mid-50s. So it really isn't also a surprise. But I would thought he would be returning to the team this upcoming season. But again, it isn't a complete shock and a complete surprise that that is happening. And I'm glad to see that. I'm not glad he's going to be leaving, but I hope he can find somewhere to go and somewhere he can race in 2023. Hope he's able to find a good ride this upcoming season. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Connor Mossack. As Connor Mossack's 2023 schedule has been revealed. There's a lot of road course on the schedule this upcoming season, including Portland. There's some super speedway races, and he'll run 20 races in the number 24 car for Sam Hunt Racing this season. Connor Mossack is an up-and-coming talent. He's been racing for the last couple of years. He did make some select starts for Joe Gibbs Racing in 2022. I don't think he had a great finish in the one race, but he did lead some last, if I'm not mistaken, at Portland. And Connor Mossack's a driver that a lot of people are looking at as a potential future driver who can do great things in this sport. So I'm glad that Connor is getting the opportunity to drive a lot of this upcoming season with the team. I wonder if he'll drive for other teams this season. That could definitely be a possibility, but this is a pretty solid ride, and glad to see that Connor is going to get the opportunity to make some starts with the Sam Hunt Racing in the 2023 season. Glad he's getting this opportunity because he deserves this, in my opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Josh Bilicki. As it was announced yesterday that Josh Bilicki will drive for DGM Racing in 2023 on a part-time basis. He'll drive the number 91 car, I believe, for 4 races in 2023, including at the Chicago Street Course. Josh Bilicki, of course, will be driving many starts in the NASCAR Cup Series for Live Fast Motorsports in the number 78 car. He'll get select starts with the team, as, of course, Josh Bilicki has made select starts for other teams like DGM Racing, and, of course, he's driven for Beach Motorsports in the past. But now he gets the opportunity to make some select starts. Josh, very talented driver, always gets the best out of equipment regardless of what ride you give him. He always seems to get the best out of equipment. So I'm expecting Josh Bilicki to do a really good job in this ride. Like I said, I'm very excited to see he's getting this opportunity because I think he definitely deserves this, in my opinion. He's getting more starts, and I know it's not a full-time opportunity, but it's good to see that he is, regardless, getting some starts, and I'm happy that he will get an opportunity to make some select starts with this team in 2023. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Jimmie Johnson. Now, Jennifer I put out a tweet yesterday or 2 days ago talking about Jimmie Johnson's possibility of running the 2023 Indianapolis 500. She knows, though, that Jimmie Johnson has on his list of races, because he has not announced anything besides the Daytona 500. He says the All-Star race is still high up on his list. However, the All-Star race plays a major conflicting role, and that's with the Indy 500 qualifying, because I believe the same day as Indy 500 qualifying is the All-Star race. He does say, though, the Indy 500 is still in play as a possibility for him to run in the 2023 season. Now, apparently, Chip Ganassi Racing is that right. If he does decide to run the Indy 500, it would be with Chip Ganassi Racing, as he does have the green light from Chevy and Honda, both of them, because of the Carvana sponsorship. Look, Jimmie Johnson's already run the Indy 500 once already. So the question is now, does he want to run the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro, or does he want to run the Indy 500? That's a really tough decision because NASCAR is going back to North Wilkesboro. But, of course, you do have that possibility of running the Indy 500 and trying to win that with Chip Ganassi Racing, which I think it's a really tough call, and he's going to have a very tough decision to make on what event he wants to decide to run, and regardless of what he decides to run. He'll probably be pretty competitive in those events. But regardless of what he decides to run, I respect his decision, and I hope he gets to go out and run whatever event he wants to, because I think he deserves it, because he's been in the sport long enough, and I think he definitely deserves it for sure. Whatever ride he decides to run, I hope he does a good job in those races. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Rick Ware Racing. Now, it was reported by Nextline PR earlier this morning that Rick Ware Racing is about a week away from announcing the Daytona 500 plans for the number 15 car. I would also think at this point that this also would be the indication on who will drive the number 51 car for Rick Racing. So this would probably not just be the Daytona 500 plans. I'm thinking that within the next week or so, even though it's kind of confirmed already that Cody Ware is going to drive the 51 car, we're probably going to know all together what the Rick Racing team is going to look like heading into 2023. My guess at this point when it comes to the 15 car actually, I would have to think right now at this particular point that it would be David Ragan. David Ragan has driven for Rick Racing in some sort of capacity the last couple of years. I think the 36 car in 2020 was a Rick Ware car. Yes, it was front row with stickers, but I think Rick Ware did make that car. And David Ragan, like I said, has made select starts for the team in the past. So I would have to think at this particular point that I think we're going to see David Ragan drive the number 15 car at this point. It could have been anybody at this point. Maybe Julio Castroneves decides to drive a Ford instead of a Chevy. That is a possibility. But my expectation at this point with the number 15 car is I think it is actually going to be David Ragan, once again, who is going to drive the 15 car. That's my guess, and I think we'll see him get in. We'll have to wait and see, but I think we are going to see him drive the number 15 car in the 2023 season in that car. That's who I think will get in the car heading into the 2023 season. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we are talking about Frankie Muniz. It is officially confirmed on Wednesday that Frankie Muniz will be driving an ARCA full-time in 2023, driving the number 30 for Retta Jones Racing. Frankie Muniz, for those who do not know who he is a legendary actor. He has been on shows like movies like Agent Cody Banks, has also been on Malcolm in the Middle. Frankie Muniz has been trying to make a racing career for many, many years. I think he made some late model races on the West Coast in 2022, and now we'll get the opportunity to drive full-time in 2023 in ARCA. My expectations for Frankie Muniz going into 2023 is, let's be for real, I don't think Frankie really has a ton of expectations. I think it's really good for the sport that you're going to have Frankie Muniz racing, but I will be honest with you guys, I'm not expecting Frankie really to set the world on fire in a sense because, again, Frankie Muniz has never driven an ARCA car. I know they're doing the ARCA test starting today, but Frankie Muniz has never competed in like any sort of like big soccer ARCA. But at the same token, at the same time, he shouldn't really have high expectations. He's getting to have fun with what he wants to do, and I think he definitely deserves his opportunity to get to decide what he wants to do, considering he's been doing whatever he wants to do. I think he deserves his opportunity, and I think it's big for the sport. I mean, when you got TMZ reporting about this, that is huge for the racing world in general, and it gets a lot of public recognition that this is happening. So I'm definitely really excited that Frankie's going to get to do this. I think this is fantastic for the sport. And like I said, I am very excited to see that Frankie is going to get to race. It's really good for the sport, in my opinion. Really awesome to see, and I'm really happy that he will get to do some racing in ARCA in 2023. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Adam Alexander. As it was reported by Austin Konensky yesterday, that Adam Alexander is expected to join the Truck Series booth and be the play-by-play announcer for the Truck Series booth in 2023. Adam Alexander, of course, has been commentating for the Xfinity Series booth since the Xfinity Series in trucks since the Xfinity Series joined Fox in 2015. This is an absolute massive upgrade, in my opinion, to bring Adam Alexander in. Adam Alexander, in my opinion, is one of the most overhated commentators. He's actually a person who I feel like has grown as someone in the booth over the last couple of years. He's really enjoyed his craft, and I really have enjoyed the Xfinity Series commentaries because I think he's done a really good job being a play-by-play announcer, and I would not be mad if he ends up eventually taking over for Mike Joy when Mike Joy does decide to retire, because I think Fox is going to get the contract re-upped, and I think Adam Alexander could potentially take that place. The Truck Series has needed some new life. Vince Welch, of course, is not returning to Fox in any sort of capacity in 2023, which I think a lot of us are really shocked by that basically that is going on. But I will say this, that this is a great pickup, in my opinion. The Truck Series has needed some new life, has needed some new blood in there. I know Adam has done some Truck Series commentaries in the past. Remember the call he made in 2014, and I think it was in Canadian Tire between Ryan Blaney, Herman Quiroga. So I think this is a really good decision and a really good pickup for Fox going into next year for the Truck Series booth. They've needed some changes in that booth, in my opinion. And like I said, I really think that he'll do a good job commentating. He'll bring some new life. There's other changes that probably do need to be made to make it better. I'm not going to say what those changes need to be, but I think that they need to make some other changes to make it a little bit better. But like I said, I'm very happy that he's going to be in the Truck Series booth. That'll probably be announced here in the coming weeks. In fact, I think, and a lot of other questions come up asking, will he do Xfinity commentaries My expectation is yes. I think that they're eventually going to have him do every single commentary. I think the race is going to have mainly focus on doing the Xfinity commentaries, though. So I think the races that Fox is not in town, and there's some standalone races for trucks, I would think that Jamie Little, she will do some of those league commentaries, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But I am excited to see that he is going to be doing that, and I'm excited that Adam Alexander will be commentating the Truck Series races because I think he'll do a really good job, and I'm excited that he is getting this opportunity for 2023, in my opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Anthony Alfredo. As it was announced on Wednesday that Anthony Alfredo will drive full-time for BJ McLeod Motorsports in 2023, driving the number 78 car. For the last couple years, Anthony Alfredo has been flipping through rides. In 2021, he drove full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series in the number 38 for Farwell Motorsports. Then he went back down to the Xfinity Series in 2022 and drove the number 23 for Our Motorsports. Now, he'll have, unfortunately, another decrease and will be dropping down to BJ McLeod Motorsports team on a full-time basis in 2023. Look, I think Anthony Alfredo is a very, very talented driver, but I am going to be honest here. This is definitely a downgrade from Our Motorsports. Now, there's a lot of talk. We'll talk about Our in just a second. But Anthony is going to be basically having not as good of a year as I think a lot of people think he could end up happening. I think he'll get the best out of the equipment. He'll probably be competing for top 15s and top 20s. But I don't expect Anthony Alfredo to be really competitive this year and be up front, really get all competing for the win, which is such a shame because I think Anthony Alfredo is a really talented driver. And I think he deserves a really fantastic opportunity. But I do think he'll at least finish top 20 in the points, which I think is not bad because there's a lot of competition this year at Xfinity. Xfinity's got like 30 full-time drivers currently at this point, and the number of full-time drivers is increasing. There's some more rides that have not been announced at this point that I think are going to get announced in the future. But going back and talking about Anthony Alfredo, it's a little bit disappointing that he's going to be BJ McLeod Motorsports, but there's not many rides that were available, so he kind of had no choice but to go with a team like them unless he wanted to go back down to the Truck Series, which honestly, there were still some good rides available down there. That being said, though, I'm glad he at least has a full-time ride for 2023 because his future was kind of uncertain. Now let's transition to talk about Our Motorsports. That team, there is a lot of talk about that team. There's rumors that they might have shut down. There's rumors it might be only a one-car team if someone's going over there. No one really knows what's going on with Our, but their future is kind of uncertain at the moment because a lot of us thought Anthony was going to go back to this team. Now he's not even going to be with the team because they've lost Jeff Burton. He's going to Jordan Anderson Racing next season. So it's kind of just unfortunate this is kind of happening at this point that he's not going to be with like a better team. But BJ, I have a lot of respect for BJ. I just don't think the ride is as good as what it could be. But hopefully they can prove me wrong and he can run really good this season. But at least he's got a ride going into next year, and I wish him the best of luck going into the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series season. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Austin Hill. As it was announced on Wednesday afternoon that Austin Hill will return to Rich Schultz Racing in 2023, and he will drive the number 21 car once again. In 2022, I think Austin Hill was really the biggest surprise of anybody in the field in the 2022 season. He scored 2 wins in Richard Childress Racing, scored both those, yes, on super speedways. But Austin Hill was really fast on a lot of other types of tracks. He was really strong on the road courses. I think he finished runner-up at Circuit of the Americas. Was pretty solid on the short tracks and was, in general, really, really fast through the year. To the point where he actually made the round of 8 and nearly had a shot at making the championship 4. Austin Hill, I think, is someone you gotta need to watch out for, especially Rich Schultz Racing. That team in 2023, I think, could be the biggest surprising team. You've got Sheldon Creed returning to the team in 2023, and also you got Austin Hill returning to the 21 car, which I think he is someone who is an underdog for the championship, and I think he'll be someone that can get the best, because Austin Hill is someone that I feel like is kind of underrated in my opinion. He always gets the best out of equipment, and he does a really fantastic job regardless of what ride he ends up being in. And I think, once again, in 2023, like it was in 2022, he's going to be underdog for this title. But I would love for him to win not just super speed races, but other types of races. So maybe he wins a short track, maybe he wins a road course somehow. Who knows at this point? But like I've already mentioned here, I think he'll do a really good job regardless of what ride he's in. And I'm excited to see he's returning. My prediction for this year is I think Austin Hill will get about 1 or 2 victories this year. Maybe one of them on a super speedway, and the other one maybe on a road course and maybe an intermediate track, because he's been fast on a lot of other different types of tracks. And like I said, I think he will do a really good job heading into 2023. He's got another year of experience, and he seems to get better. The more experience you give him, the better he gets. And I think he will still be the better driver this year at RCR than Sheldon Creed, but I think Creed will be much closer. But RCR is definitely a team to watch going into the season, and I think that they could have a really strong year heading into 2023. So like I said, I'm very excited to see that we're going to see Austin Hill return. I think he'll do a really good job, and we'll see what he does, but I'm hoping he can do a really good job and run as well as he can because he deserves this opportunity. I think he might also make some cup starts. Of course, he's making cup starts as well with Beard Motorsports, making 6 starts there. And maybe if RCR decides to run a third cup car, they can give him some starts there. But I think eventually he goes up the cup in the not-so-distant future in the next couple of years. Maybe Beard Motorsports, maybe a third RCR car on a full-time basis. But we'll see what happens. But I'm happy to see that he will return to the team. I think he'll do a really awesome job with this team in 2023. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about NASCAR silly season. Now, the 2023 season has not started at this point, but we're already discussing about 2024. And we're already going to discuss about a driver here in just a little bit that's already announced something big for himself. But NASCAR silly season, there's a lot of drivers currently not signed at this point for 2024. There are 15 drivers at this moment that are not signed. So let's go through all the drivers that are not signed for 2024. First, Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is currently on a 1-year deal with Trackhouse Racing. This is the year that the contract ends. My expectations for Ross Chastain is that he will get extended. I think they're waiting on what's going on with the TV deal, and then I think they'll decide what they'll do with Chastain. But if they lose Chastain, that is a massive blow for Trackhouse, but I don't see that happening. Next, Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie is based on a year-by-year basis at this point, a case-by-case basis. I don't see Spire getting rid of Corey LaJoie. I think he'll get extended with the team. Next, you have Eric Almirola. Eric Almirola, I thought had a multi-year deal, but that second year, 2024, is an option year. It is possible it can go any other way. I think it's 50-50 at this point. Eric could retire at the end of the season, or he could basically come back and race in 2024. Next, Denny Hamlin. No surprise here. Denny Hamlin's on a contract year, and FedEx's future is kind of uncertain at the moment. There's a chance Hamlin could leave the team and go to his own organization or return to JGR. If they can get FedEx to re-up for 2024, Hamlin will return to the team, but he's also a free agent. Next, Chase Briscoe. This one surprised me. I thought Briscoe had a long-term deal with the team going into this year, but no, guess not. Apparently, he's not signed for 2024. I don't see Briscoe leaving the team, though. I think Briscoe will continue driving the 14 car in 2024. Next, Martin Truex Jr. Truex only signed a 1-year extension after 2022. It's basically a year-by-year basis if he's going to retire or not at this point. My expectation is that Martin Truex Jr. will retire at the end of the season and that 19 car is going to become available. He could return in 2024, but we probably will know before September what's going on there, and we may know not too far from now if he's going to retire or not. Next, Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton's on a year-by-year basis with the Wood Brothers currently at the moment. He could go to Stu Ross Racing and take over one of the cars, but I think he'll get extended by the Wood Brothers for 2024. I think he's a long-term project with the Wood Brothers, so I think he'll continue driving for that team. Next, Justin Haley. I also thought Justin Haley had a long-term deal with Kaulig. I guess not. I think Justin Haley is going to once again, be driving this car in 2024. I think he will be really, really strong heading into this season, and I think he'll get extended with Kaulig long-term. Next, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell currently at the moment is on a year-by-year basis. He could retire at the end of the year, but also could leave the team, basically go find another opportunity. But I think McDowell will return with front row potentially in 2024. But you also got Zane Smith waiting in the wings. Next, you've got Todd Gillen. He's on a year-by-year basis as well. He will return to the team in 2023. I think he'll get extended with front row long term. I know that people don't think so because of DGR being Tricon and then being Toyota, but I think he will stay. Next, Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, I think, is going to stay with Stewart Haas Racing, but I think he gets moved over to the 4 car. More than likely. I would see him moving over to the 4. I think SHR is going to keep him. Yes, it depends on performance, but I think he stays long-term with that team. Next, Noah Gragson. He's on a year-by-year basis. I thought there was a multi-year deal with him, but I guess it's a year-by-year basis with option years and stuff. Noah Gragson, though, I think gets extended. Next, Alex Bowman. We already know he's on a contract year. Alex Bowman, I think, will get extended from Hendrick Motorsports. I don't see him leaving the 48 car. I've seen crazier things happen, but I think he'll get extended. Next, Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon's on a year-by-year basis. I think he will continue driving for Spire in 2024, though, despite the season already starting. We haven't seen his performance yet. I think he'll get extended. And finally, Daniel Suarez. We already know Daniel Suarez only has a 1-year deal with Trackhouse Racing. They're waiting on the TV deal, very similar to Ross Chastain. The TV deal is going to be very interesting because I think a lot of people are waiting on that TV deal. And I think silly season is going to get a lot crazier as we get to the start. But That's all the drivers that are currently free agents heading into 2024 at this point. We haven't even started the season yet. I think a lot of these drivers will either return to their teams, stay with their teams, or retire at the end of the year. I expect silly season to be a little bit less calm, less crazier than it was in 2022, but anything is possible at this point, and we'll see what happens going into the 2023 NASCAR season. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the first of two major stories in today's episode, as we're talking about Kevin Harvick. Now, we made a dedicated video yesterday talking about this, but Kevin Harvick is going to retire at the end of the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. This will be Kevin Harvick's, of course, 23rd season in the NASCAR Cup Series, and he will retire from the team. But there's a lot of things that have kind of come out and reasons why Kevin Harvick is deciding to retire. Kevin Harvick basically says that he wanted to retire. He actually said this on, I believe it was with talking to Dave Mooney, Dustin L being a report on this. He actually wanted to retire the Carl Edwards way. Remember, 2017, Carl Edwards, a day after my birthday in 2017, he basically announced retirement out of left field, and a lot of Carl Edwards fans were really upset and angry, and I was just completely shocked when the announcement happened. Kevin Harvick was thinking about not even competing in 2023 and was going to retire before the 2023 season began. But he is going to retire at the end of the year, and he's wanting to basically commit with the sponsors and stuff. Another thing that's been noted is that he's interested in being part of a team. He's very interested in having ownership group. He doesn't want to be financially owning the team, but he wants to be a part owner of the team. My expectation would be is if that was the case, it would be Trackhouse Racing. Trackhouse Racing teams have a pretty big interest in working with Kevin Harvick. They've worked with his son Keelan in go-karting, and also Kevin Harvick's management company is working with Justin Marks' management company for that Cars Tour as well. So it wouldn't be out of the blue if Kevin Harvick does become a part owner of the Trackhouse Racing group. That would not shock me. And finally, Kevin Harvick is likely, according to reports, he's likely going to join the Fox Sports booth in 2024, which isn't a surprise. A lot of people, including people in Fox Sports, have been kind of saying that they're kind of expecting Kevin Harvick to get in the booth in 2024. He's been wanting to do basically some commentaries, and that booth, in my opinion, needs to be jumbled up. Of course, they're going to continue doing like different commentators every single week or every 2 weeks. But I would expect at this point Kevin Harvick is going to join the Fox Sports booth full-time in 2024. Many are expecting that, and I think he'll do a really, really good job. But I want to kind of take a step back and talk about Kevin Harvick's career. Kevin Harvick has definitely 100% earned this retirement, in my honest opinion. He's scored 60 NASCAR Cup Series victories, has gone on to win a lot of races. He's gone on to win the Daytona 500 in 2007, won 2 or 3 Coca-Cola 600s. He's won the Brickyard 400 3 times. He's won the Southern 500 twice. He's won 2 Xfinity Series titles in 2001 and 2006. And he's also gone on to basically win 2 championships as an owner in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Kevin Harvick has accomplished a lot in this sport and has done many things for this sport. And in my opinion, he's also one of the 10 greatest NASCAR drivers. I think he will do. I think he's done absolutely incredible for the sport. And just to see that this is actually it for Kevin Harvick, it was very shocking yesterday. Well, it wasn't shocking because we all knew this was coming. Kevin Harvick's 47. He's going to be 48. He also wants to focus on spending time with his family. Piper, his daughter, she's 5 years old. And Keelan, he's beginning his racing career. He's 10 years old and will be 11 in 2023. And Keelan's been doing go-kart racing. And Piper, she's getting ready to start racing as well and wants to really start being more focused on being with his family, which I think that makes a lot of sense. Being with your family a lot more and just being at the racetrack with your family absolutely makes a lot of sense why I think he decided to go ahead and retire. He's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure as well, and he definitely deserves his retirement after everything he's accomplished in the sport and everything he's done. Now, the big question at this particular point is who will take over the 4-car going into 2023, because there could be more rides available. I would think 2024, I would have to say there's a few potential candidates. I would say Ryan Preece is one of the candidates for sure who could go over to that 4-car. Ryan Preece has been with Stewart-Haas Racing this year. I know people think that he's Kevin Harvick's replacement, so I think he'd go over to the 4-car. Cole Custer could go to the 4. Cole Custer driving the Xfinity Series for Stewart-Haas Racing this season, so he's a big possibility. I wouldn't throw out this at all either. Hailie Deegan. I know it sounds crazy to say with Hailie Deegan, but you don't think Ford is trying to basically coerce her to move up to the Cup Series? I'm just saying there's a big possibility that she can move up, though I don't want to see her move up. I don't think she's anywhere near ready to go anywhere near close to Cup. I think she needs to run some Xfinity Series races this year, maybe the SS Greenlight Racing, but I don't see her becoming the favorite, but anything's possible. And then Riley Herbst could be another possibility. Riley Herbst, of course, he right now is kind of, driving for the team in Xfinity. I don't think he's even close to being Cup ready, but anything's possible at this point, and he can move up. But going back to talking about Kevin Harvick, he's going to have a great legacy. He's going to have a lot of respect, and everything that he's accomplished in his sport has been really incredible. So congratulations on a great career, Kevin Harvick, and thank you for everything you have accomplished in the sport. You've earned this respect, you've earned this retirement, and you've done a lot for the sport. So it's going to be sad to see Kevin Harvick go. Thank you, Kevin, for everything you've done in the sport. We appreciate everything you've done, and thank you for everything you have done for NASCAR. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the final major story of today's episode, as we are talking about Kyle Larson. We've talked about this a lot on the channel, about Kyle Larson potentially running the Indy 500. Well, it's actually going to happen in 2024. It was announced yesterday that Kyle Larson is going to run the 2024 Indianapolis 500. He will drive for Aaron McLaren Racing, not Aaron McLaren SP anymore. He will drive for Aaron McLaren in 2024 Indianapolis 500 in the number 5 car. Kyle Larson will also be competing in the double. This will be the first time since I believe Kurt Busch did it in 2014. He will be competing in the double in 2024, run the Indy 500 and the Coco 600. He will also have HendrickCars.com as a sponsor in this event. I can tell you this, I have been wanting Kyle Larson to do the Indianapolis 500 for many, many years. I'm talking really since about 2020 or 2021. I've been wanting Kyle Larson to run the Indianapolis 500. Because Kyle Larson is an extremely talented driver. Regardless of what ride you put Kyle Larson in, he is always very, very competitive. He can pick up things really quickly. He's also had a really incredible resume as well. Already a Cup Series champion, nearly won 20 Cup Series races, won 3 races in 2022. He's won the Rolex 24 in 2015. He's won a lot of World of Outlaw races, nearly 30 World of Outlaw races. He's won late model races. He's won the Chili Bowl a couple times. 2021, he had a big year by winning pretty much every single major dirt event he basically could win. And he's just a driver who has done absolutely amazing. And even people think he can go to Formula One, you probably need a competitive car to be there. But he's someone who I think could be very competitive. Now, talking about his possibility of completing the double, I think that he has a good chance of getting it done. Like I mentioned a second ago, we have seen other drivers attempt the double. I think 6 or 7 drivers have done it in the past. We've seen Tony Stewart do it twice. He tried in 99, failed. I think he ended up crashing out in 1999. He did end up competing it, though, in 2001. He ended up completing that double in 2001, finishing, I think, 3rd in the Coke 600, and also finishing in 6th in the Indy 500 in 2001. And then Kurt Busch also did it in 2014, attempted it, drove for Andretti Autosport, and finished 6th in the Indy 500. And unfortunately, in 2014, in the Coke 600, with about 100 laps to go, he ran into some engine troubles and some engine issues. Kyle Larson will be the first, like I said, though, to do it since 2014. And let's be honest, I think Kyle Larson is going to have a really good chance to not only complete the double, but I think that this is something as a big possibility. I could see him winning both races. That would be crazy. I know it sounds crazy for a lot of people to think, but Kyle Larson is an extremely talented driver, and there's not many drivers I think that can only do the not only do the double, but win both of them. He's going to be in a very fast car. Aaron McLaren is a really strong team. They were really fast in the 2022 edition, and you've got a really strong combination going into 2024. You're going to have Alex Palou on that team, likely in some sort of capacity. Alexander Rossi, I think, will be returning, and they're going to be working together in 2024. And you're going to have other drivers like Pat O'Ward who will be with the team likely in 2024, and maybe even Felix Rosenqvist. And what's not to say Tony Kanaan somehow drives in 2024 if he ends up winning the Indy 500 in 2023. You don't think that they're going to try to convince him to run in 2024 if he wins it? That could be a very big possibility. But this is absolutely huge for IndyCar, because IndyCar has not had a lot of positivity as of recently, but this is an absolutely massive positive story for IndyCar. And IndyCar is just, this is huge for IndyCar. This is absolutely incredible and amazing to see. Now at this point, we just need to try to convince Kyle Busch to run Indy 500 in 2024. Because I think we'd love to see Kyle Busch get the opportunity to run Indy 500. Kyle's had ambitions. He came close to running the Indy 500 this year with Aaron McLaren, but it did not end up happening because of Menard sponsorship, and Team Penske was not going to run it. I hope we get to see not only Kyle Larson run the Indy 500 in 2024, but I also hope that we are going to end up seeing Kyle Busch compete in the Indy 500 in 2024, because I think that would be absolutely amazing. And massive shout out to Jeff Gordon, because Jeff Gordon really has been playing a major role in Hendrick's expansion outside of racing in NASCAR. They're going to run the Garage 56 entry in Le Mans. I think Jeff Gordon played a major role in that. They've basically been expanding to other forms of racing. That IMSA program, that Ally 48 Cadillac that's been around, that basically has been Jeff Gordon's part. And the ambitions of other drivers like Chase Elliott and Larson being able to run extracurricular activities. I think this is huge for IndyCar, massive story, and fantastic to see that he's finally going to run the 2024 Indy 500. The big question now, will he run any IndyCar races before? I know that's been noted that he's not going to run. I would have to think he'll get some tests. That's probably what's going to happen. So he'll probably get some tests sometime in 2023. He may end up doing a test this year at the Indy test in 2023. He might end up doing some tests there to get in a car, and he's of course going to have to pass a rookie orientation test, but I think he easily will pass that. But this is huge for IndyCar. Massive story for sure, and incredible to see that Kyle Larson's going to have a shot, and I think he could win the race. I really think he can win both Indy 500 and the Coast 600. I'm excited that this is happening. Kyle Larson's my favorite driver, so for him to finally have the opportunity to compete in the Indy 500 is absolutely incredible. And like I said, I am so excited that he is finally going to compete in the Indy 500 in 2024. Excited to see. He almost ran it this year, by the way. They came close to running it, but Tony Kanaan took the ride. So we'll see what happens, though, but I'm excited that he will run the 2024 Indy 500. I'm a huge fan of Larson's and happy he'll run the Indy 500 in 2024. So, that is for today's long NASCAR and motorsports news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on so be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below with that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's video. What are your thoughts about Kevin Harvick's retirement, and what is your favorite Kevin Harvick moment? And what are your thoughts about Kyle Larson running the 2024 Indy 500, and do you think he'll be fast in 2024? Let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, you should be seeing a special video on 10 drivers who could drive the 4-car in 2024. And I'm not certain what video will be coming out on Sunday. It could be a predictions video for 2024 or even Xfinity Series predictions video. We'll have to wait and see. There might be also a paint scheme video coming out. No guarantees at this point, but there's a lot of content on the way on this channel, and you should be really excited. And there might be a video finally on the second channel, but just make sure to subscribe to that channel because there might be more videos on the way. So anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.